now, the real headlines ripped from the real news of the real modern cannabis wackos. Really? The Huffington Post is reporting that Sir Richard Branson, who recently visited the White House with the black president, politely asked him for a spliff. And although they say the president was not upset, it seems that Sir Richard Branson may have been a little put out over not getting to partake in the new legal weed in D.C. Point Branson, whose tongue-in-cheek remark may not change the president's mind on legal weed. And this amazing story from Smell the Truth that the DEA is fuming mad over Utah's recent attempt at medical marijuana legislation. So mad that they sent a warning to state legislators that they could be attacked by stoned rabbits who would tend to eat the crop. It seems that they have some experience from the Brits, who've already had their go-around with pot-enraged bunnies, as is evidenced by this report from the hills of England.
Behold the cave of Carbano.
Right. Keep me covered.
What with?
Just keep me covered.
Too late.
What?
There he is.
Where?
There.
What, behind the rabbit?
It is the rabbit.
He's going to kill you. He's got roach clips hanging from his ears.
You silly sod.
What?
You got us all worked up.
Well, that's no ordinary rabbit.
That rabbit is completely stoned out of his gourd.
That's the most foul, cruel, and bad-tempered rodent you ever set eyes on.
You tit! I saw my arm and I was so scared.
Look, that rabbit's got a vicious streak a mile wide. It's a killer.
You can't feed a rabbit pork. It makes him vicious.
Get stuff.
He'll do you a treat, mate.
Oh, yeah? Manky Scots git.
I'm warning you.
What's he do? Nibble your bum?
He's got huge, sharp... he can leap about... Look at the bones!
Go on, boss. Chop his head off.
Right, silly little bleeder. One rabbit stew coming right up.
Look! Jesus Christ! I warned you.
That one's done rabbit dab. He's cut his head off.
I've done it again.
I warned you, but did you listen to me? Oh, no, you knew it all, didn't you? Oh, it's just a harmless little bunny, isn't it? Well, it's always the same. I always tell them.
Shut up!
Do they listen to me?
Right.
Oh, no.
Right, how many did we lose? Gawain, Hector, and Boars, that's 5. Frita? 3. So we better not risk another frontal assault. That rabbit's dynamite.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
This is the full melt.
The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. FullMelt.com. Toll free. 844-420-TALK. 844-420-TALK.
Hey, welcome to the program for a Tuesday. Just got to say, look, that's not the end of the crazy cannabis news. It's seeds out of every corner, nook, and cranny these days. They are what I call the modern-day weed frenzy crazies. I mean, these are the same people that were out putting out Reefer Madness back in the 20s and the 30s. And I don't know why. The crazy cannabis news is all over the place. It's really just everywhere. And so I wanted to highlight a little bit of that today. But I didn't want to detract from the point that we picked up on yesterday, which is the RFRA, everybody's talking about it. The Religious Freedom Restoration Act. I'd love to stay off of this topic because everybody else is on it. I just had to do it because of the strange marijuana tie-in, the cannabis tie-in to this story. And not many people are talking about it. Just a few of us out here trying to make light of this particular issue. That the RFRA may provide some protection against governmental intrusion on churches that want to use cannabis as a sacrament, a religious sacrament, part of their religious rights, enjoying your religious freedom. Look, the governor said it over and over and over again, the governor of Indiana. I mean, his talking points, part of his talking points are the idea that every religion will be protected, will enjoy that all religions, every religion, every single one. He makes a big point of this. I've seen numerous interviews with him. He always says that first. All religions get to enjoy the protection of the RFRA. And to me, the whole idea seems, again, I pointed this out yesterday, but I'll say it again today. The name itself, RFRA, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, implies that somehow your religious freedom was taken away somewhere. I just want to know where that was. I didn't see it. Was that in the news? Did somebody say no more religion in the United States? Did somebody say you can't practice freely and openly? I mean, it seems to me that's a cornerstone, a foundational piece of our Constitution. It's part of our Bill of Rights. This whole idea of freedom of the press, freedom of religion, freedom of, right to bear arms, all this stuff. Nobody is taking away these rights. Nobody. But somehow this idea come about that we need to add to it. How do you add to that? Everything underneath, all the laws in the United States exist and live under the Constitution. Otherwise, they are what's called unconstitutional. So if the Constitution itself grants you freedom of religion, separation of church and state, don't you think that says enough? Where did something happen between that time, a couple 100+ years ago, and now? Which president, which ruler, which dictate, which law, which Congress said that you can't have religious freedom? I don't understand the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. What's being restored? But aside from that point, it's a double-edged sword if you go start making legislation like this, isn't it? Because it seems that somebody in Indiana there is trying to say, look, hey, I'm going to open up a church now, and, I legitimately use marijuana as part of my ceremonies. It's a basic tenet, a principle of our religion. Got to have the cannabis present and usable in whatever form the rules of the church say. And so the government can't come in and raid us and take our sacraments away, interfere with our ability to practice freely and openly our religion without fear of persecution or retribution from the government. That's what this law is about. Does it apply here? It seems every faith, every religion gets to enjoy it. So Bill Levin, cannabis activist and now founder of the First Church of Cannabis, as of the same day of the signing of that bill by the governor of Indiana, he started this church, same day, already collected money under it. I've had him scheduled to come on for a while, but it seems that he's made the news again here in the Huffington Post. And I'll read you a little bit out of the Huffington Post here in just a bit. Before we even get to Mr. Levin, also on today's show, Adjunct Professor at Boston University, Dr. Carl Ruck, on the history of cannabis and religion. Tried to touch on that a little bit yesterday with the Reverend out at the Green Ministries in Colorado, who had a hard time really maybe articulating to me in a great way. He did say what some of the methods were but he didn't have a good, maybe he just didn't have it in front of him. Maybe he couldn't read from it, but I had a hard time picking out how cannabis were the central rights to their religion and what that meant. I'm sure it's legit. I just had a hard time figuring it out based on our conversation yesterday on the air. So I wanted to dig into that a little bit further about because he didn't have the history of it. And this Green Ministries thing out in Colorado started in Wyoming. It was in Texas. This was all on yesterday's show. And then he moved to Colorado because cheap real estate, da-da-da-da-da. Never been challenged by the courts in Texas or in Wyoming, where he started that church. And then moved it to Colorado, where he enjoys some cannabis rights already, and then also had some cheap real estate he could take advantage of buying. That's what he says. But since Indiana's passed this RFRA, people are reaching out to the Reverend in Colorado, wanting him to establish new branches here in Indiana, which I think is a legitimate claim. If you see some protection there, why not take advantage of it? If indeed you've already got, maybe these people are already meeting. Maybe they're already doing their thing, but they're doing it underground. This would give them the ability to do this in an open way and not have the government come busting down the doors of their church. So it's an interesting perspective on this subject. But the cannabis news is crazy. I mean, there's been some of the stuff that I see coming across the news wires is absolutely nuts. I mean, some of it you just, and I'm pretty good about picking out the satire news from the real news, being that I've always been a news guy. But the story about the rabbits, the DEA warning Utah about the rabbits. Look, if you start growing legal medical marijuana there outdoors in Utah, and we know you're going to have crazed groups of rabbits that are going to be stoned on that. They're going to eat that stuff, and they're going to be so stoned they're going to attack you. Just like the Monty Python skit from Holy Grail. I mean, it makes me think the DEA got stoned on their own stash, their own proceeds from some raid somewhere, and sat around watching Monty Python and said, yeah, let's call up Utah and warn them about the crazed rabbits. I mean, it's really that close to reality. What kind of crazier claim could the DEA make as a threat? I mean, how low in the barrel do you have to scrape for threats when the other ones have been deflected or debunked as inaccurate? Do you have to go? What's beyond crazy bloody rabbits attacking people because they ate their medical garden? I just can't see it. And if I am, I deserve to have my head cut off by that rabbit and bleed to death right there in front of everybody. It's just not going to happen. So when we come back from the break, we'll talk a little bit more about the crazy cannabis news this week. And then at the bottom of the hour, our guest.
You're getting the full melt.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at canalock.com. Visit canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
Well, this formula is specifically to grow cannabis.
That's Ray Kogo for Kogo's Original Cannabis Formula Nutrients.
Now, everybody knows that large buds and tight buds come from genetics, and then the amount of light you use. The other part is having the correct nutrients that the plant's going to use. Mine specifically to grow cannabis, so it's going to get everything that it needs.
Ray knows what you may not. Those nutrient companies you can get in most grow shops are not cannabis specific. That means they take the stuff out of the bloom that your plant needs in bloom. You can get Kogo's Original Cannabis Formula Nutrients too. It's just 2 1-gallon jugs that make over 600 gallons of nutrients, all for less than $100. See the difference for yourself.
More trichomes, bigger buds, faster growth, and for less money.
Go to CANNABISformula.com or call Ray direct at 517-375-8998. That's 517-375-8998. Kogo's Original Cannabis Formula Nutrients.
Does your dog or cat suffer with joint disorders, arthritis, anxiety, cancer, chronic pain, or other ailments? Hemp or cannabis-based medicinal products are now legal. Why should your pets go without the same options that we have available? Try Sativus, a daily hemp oil with CBD. Sativus is quality inspected and made in the USA. Easy-to-use drops are applied directly to your pet's food. For your pet's wellness, try Sativus drops. Ask for Succubus at your local pet store or learn more at petpain.com.
You know, it's not easy out there, but it can be easier. And when it comes to medical marijuana in Michigan and chronic pain management, Dr. Bob Townsend, renowned for his patient advocacy and deep understanding of how patients and medical marijuana certifications fit together, makes it his hallmark to educate and provide the best holistic treatment for your condition. His knowledgeable staff makes you feel warm and welcome, and Dr. Bob makes you feel well. With locations across the state in Cadillac and Gaylord, Kalamazoo, Marquette, Mount Pleasant, Muskegon, Saginaw, Traverse City, you can't beat the convenience and feeling you get knowing you have someone on your side that cares. Denali Healthcare is on the web at denalihealthcaremi.com. Get answers to your holistic health questions or schedule an appointment now by calling 989-339-4464. Chronic pain management and holistic health answers is what they do. It's all they do. DenaliHealthcareMI.com. Get your certification and peace of mind now by making an appointment with Dr. Bob Townsend at 989-339-4464.
In this cold weather, I suffer many aches and pains, which keep me from doing the things I enjoy, like playing the piano, crafting, and spending time with my grandchildren. Toledo Hemp Center, 1419 Sylvania Avenue, has shown me there is an alternative to pharmaceutical drugs. I use CBD, cannabidiol, infused hemp lotions, oral sprays, and topical oils. Thank you, Toledo Hemp Center, for helping me restore and maintain my health with no side effects and no high. Find out more at ToledoHempCenter.com.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show. So again, at the bottom of the hour here, that's where I have the guy from the University of Boston, Adjunct Professor Dr. Carl Ruck. This guy's an amazing guy. Talks about the history of cannabis use in churches. I can't think of a better guy to explain this subject. He's the renowned expert in the United States on this subject, clearly. And then just a little bit after that, we'll talk to the First Church of Cannabis founder and marijuana activist in Indiana, Bill Levin, who will explain to us the story that I will read to you from the... who is this? Oh, it's going to be the Huffington Post. And so this story in the Huffington Post appears, I was aware of this story before, but I thought just because he's going to be on the program today, I'll read you the story that or a part of the story that I saw here in the Huffington Post. Because it's certainly not the only one. There are other stories I want to get to before we have to talk to Carl Ruck. So, just trying to find the story now. Where did it go? Where is it? I am not finding it. Well, I'll get to that in just a minute. I do want to talk about this other thing. So you get the crazy story about the pot bunnies. The DEA telling Utah you got to have the crazed... You're going to get attacked by rabbits. Rabbits. Over smoking, not smoking, but consuming, eating the garden. They're going to eat the garden and they're going to cut you up. Then comes this story, and this has really fired up some people in the military. This story comes from KPNX and also from Raw Story. They're online, rawstory.com. The headline says, "You're an enemy. Arizona County Attorney tells pot-smoking veteran he's breaking oath to uphold the Constitution." Really? An Arizona County Attorney told a retired veteran he was an enemy of the state because he smoked pot. The veteran, Don Ream, stood up last week during a debate on medical marijuana between Maricopa County Attorney Bill Montgomery and lawyer Mark Victor to admonish the elected official, reported KPNX TV. With all due respect, sir, your name-calling, potheads, offends me, Ream said. He told Montgomery that he was a military veteran whose health had improved as a result of medical marijuana use. There's a distinction between medicinal applications and recreational use, Montgomery said. Ream admitted that he smoked pot recreationally as well. Well, then you're violating the law, and I have no respect for you, Montgomery said. I have no respect for someone who would try to claim that you served this country and took an oath to uphold the Constitution and protect against all enemies, foreign and domestic, because you're an enemy. Can you believe this jackass said this to this guy? I mean, have some respect, sir. Medical marijuana is legal in Arizona, but pro-pot advocates hope to place a ballot measure before voters next year that could legalize recreational use. Reading from Raw Story at therawstory.com. Ream said he's now considering Montgomery his enemy in the drug war, although he claims he offered the county attorney some pot as a peace offering. That's what I love about marijuana people. The weed man tells Governor Christie, hey, I like you, though. You should stop arresting patients, though, but I like you, Governor Christie. This jackass attorney for the county of Maricopa tells this veteran because he used marijuana medicinally for his condition that he's an enemy of the state, that he's breaking his oath, that basically he is a traitor. And this guy turns around and says, you know what? I'll tell you what. You look awfully stressed out. Here's a joint. Don't tell anybody I gave it to you, but I know you could use it. Montgomery declined to comment on the exchange, but his spokesman said the county attorney did not regret his remarks to Ream. I'm sorry, but that's just funny. It's just as funny as the crazy story from Richard Branson, who goes out there and visits President Obama and says, hey, you're the president of the United States. You can hook a bloke up with a spliff, right? Give a bucket a spliff. Come on, mate. I could see the president's eyes got the buckwheat look. Whoa. Oh, good Lord. I got to love Richard Branson. He's a Brit, though, so none of the Republicans here are going to like him for any reason whatsoever. Because, those crazy Europeans, they got it all wrong. They're all communists, those Europeans. Yeah, France, England, Italy, they're all communist. Germany, crazy Germans. I mean, this is how this country treats people. Hey, there's Andrea Merkel. Let's listen in on her cell phone. We can do it. We're the NSA. She's probably going to say some stuff about the press. Let's just listen in. Really? And you expect to have good and foreign relations under these terms, right? That's a good idea. Keep doing some more of that. It's a good idea. So as, I think it's funny that Branson's in D.C., he's sitting with the president, having, a casual chat, and whispers in his ear, hey, hook me up with a spliff. And D.C. is illegal, they've just created this law for, legal weed in D.C. I mean, it's retail cannabis. They weren't supposed to be selling it there, but apparently they've found a way around it. They're going to do it. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, the mayor of D.C. was the first guy to go into a store and buy some. Just to give the federal government a big bird. Hey, remember us? We're the little redheaded bastard stepchild down in the basement. But, hey, from down here up to you, there you go. There's the big middle one. There you look at that. How many fingers am I holding up? Oh, you got good vision. I mean, that's basically what that is. So Branson's making a point. Mr. President, the city that is not a state, that is not, it's its own territory, it's the hub of the federal government. It's its own district, a federally created district. It's the only one like it in the whole country. It is the seat of our capitalist government. And it has decided that not only is medical marijuana important, despite Congress's view of the medicinal application for said plant, that it's going to have not only medical marijuana, but retail cannabis. You can grow it at home. If you want to smoke it around at home, you're fine. You're good to go. And Branson can't get it. Hey, isn't that the residence of the president? Can't he have some weed in there? I mean, isn't that legal now? Couldn't he just reach into the closet underneath a couple of those big White House white towels? The his and hers towels that say White House on them. And pull out a big, or even maybe a little one. Just give him a little one. He doesn't need much. Hand it off to Branson. Send him on his way. Make him feel good about himself. I mean, you got to wine and dine the the millionaires and the billionaires. Branson's one of them. Hobnobbing with the New World Order. Come on. I think it's crazy, though. It's just a crazy thing. And so, furthering, so here you got this guy, I can't believe that this other guy here gets called, he almost wants to label him as a traitor, as, this is like, who's the guy, Bergdahl, the guy that walked off under enemy fire and said, screw it, I'm done with this. I'm not going to fight these guys. I'm just going to walk off and be a deserter. A traitor. I mean, that's what he's being charged with now. After all the, he got promoted, he was paid during that time, and they haul him off and let him come back and recuperate mentally and physically from his tour over there, which is a good thing. But then in the long run, they said, look, you walked off. All your comrades, all your soldier buddies said that you weren't doing anything admirable. There was no brevity there. There were no stars and stripes. You can't wear the uniform and do that. And that's what this guy, who's honorably discharged in Arizona, he's being called the same thing by a prosecutor, the persecutor in chief. This is why we have separation of power in this country. This guy is part of the executive branch, isn't he? Aren't prosecutors part of the executive branch? I mean, prosecutors are part of the police. The police are part of the executive branch. The prosecutors aren't part of the court system. The court system is the judge. The judge, that's the judicial branch. Prosecutors aren't in the judicial branch. They're in the executive branch. They're enforcing laws. Don't get those guys confused. But they always hobnob together. I mean, these guys got to go to work with each other every day. They have to, build their careers based on each other's cooperation all day. Some hobnobbing going on there. Little backroom smoky handshake deals. What about this client? What about that client? This is how we're going to dispose of them. I mean, you're so much table fodder for a day. But somehow this prosecutor thinks that whoever appointed him or elected him gave him the ability, the carte blanche right to call out a patriot of this country who fought for the very ground on which you stand, Mr. Prosecutor, and label him a traitor. Label his conduct less than becoming of somebody who's now a civilian who used to be an officer in the military, or at least, part of the military. I'm not sure what his actual title was in the military. I don't care if he's just a GI. I don't care if he's a grunt. If he's a soldier and he's been discharged honorably, he's done his duty. How dare you call him anything how dare you even look at his medical situation and decide that you need to have dominion over it? What happened to the freedom he fought for? I don't know. All that stuff bugs me. I have to get off the soapbox on that because, boy, I'll just start rubbing the wrong way too long. It just draws me right in. It makes me want to spit nails. Here's something else that makes me want to spit nails in the crazy cannabis news thing. Now, this whole thing with the RFRA, which is still, remember, the central thought of our show, even though I'm talking about the crazy cannabis news now. The Detroit Free Press recently writes this story that says, look, even though this hot potato, this giant political hot potato got started in Indiana, that we're going to do this here in Michigan. Wait a minute. Really? So Michigan, next door neighbor to Indiana on the map, says that they're going to start, they're looking at 3 different bills. Giving you a brief glimpse inside this article from the Detroit Free Press. The backlash over Indiana becoming the 20th state to pass a Religious Freedom Restoration Act last week could extend to Michigan if similar legislation already on the hopper moves to the front of the line at the state capitol. After Indiana Governor Mike Pence signed the law last week, giving businesses and individuals a legal defense if they refuse services based on religious objections, corporations, businesses, and organizations like the NCAA all criticized the legislation and said it could impact their decisions on doing business in the state. And the critics say it's a law that will legalize discrimination against members of the LGBT community, especially since Indiana, like Michigan, does not offer protections to gays and lesbians in their Civil Rights Act. Now, look, Michigan just this last legislative session was looking at expanding the Elliott Larson bill. The Elliott Larson bill is the law in Michigan that provides certain civil protections for certain groups: age, race, sex, creed, all that stuff. Refused in Michigan to include LGBT, just like Indiana. And that's what some of the hot button topic is about. Because all these other states have some protections built into their constitution or into a law like this, the Elliott Larson bill, that says you can't discriminate under any conditions against these classes of people. So this kind of does end up being a legal right to discriminate. But why would these people in Michigan, these legislators in Michigan, why would they want to pull that hot potato onto their own laps? I mean, they saw what kind of horrible press Indiana got over this. The Governor Pence held a news conference today that says, no, even though I said this weekend, and I horribly handled that conversation with George Stephanopoulos this weekend, when he asked me, does this law give people the right to discriminate against the gay community, the LGBT community? Does it give them the right to do it? Yes or no? It's a yes or no question, Governor. He asked him at least 5 times that I could count. Outright direct. That straight up question. Governor never said yes or no. Always went on to, oh, you're twisting it. You're mischaracterizing. Just answer the question, Governor. Would not do it. But what he did say was, I'm not going to include legislation that will exclude those people from protection. We're not going to give them protection. He was very staunch about that point of view. But then today, whoa, 180. It seems that in response to, and he blamed it on everybody but himself and their own legislation. In response to all this, we're going to flip around and say that now we're going to, by the end of the week, I want something on my desk that is a companion bill to this law that explicitly says you don't have the right to discriminate against any group or class of people for any reason, that this law doesn't grant them that right. Did it take that much negative publicity, Governor Pence, to get you to do that? I mean, you're standing in the face of public opinion across the United States. How can you say something like that and expect that it's not going to come back and bite you hard? But Michigan, even bigger fools in Michigan, why would you pull that hot potato onto your lap and cause third-degree burns? Because I'm telling you, if you pass this in the light of what the governor's done in Indiana, you're going to have to answer all these same questions. All of them, and that blood is on your hands. So that's the crazy cannabis news. Back in a moment with our guest, Dr. Carl Ruck. Stand by.
You're getting the full melt.
If you or someone you know received a traffic ticket, has been charged with a misdemeanor, drinking and driving, criminal offense, or has had their driver's license taken away, they need an attorney. They need attorney Glenn McCandless. He's helped hundreds of people solve their legal problems over the past 16 years.
My law firm is dedicated to providing quality legal services at affordable rates.
Call us at 586-755-2900. Again, that's 586-755-2900. Call now.
It's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience, bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Dorr Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at Canalock.com. Visit Canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
In this cold weather, I suffer many aches and pains, which keep me from doing the things I enjoy, like playing the piano, crafting, and spending time with my grandchildren. Toledo Hemp Center, 1419 Sylvania Avenue, has shown me there is an alternative to pharmaceutical drugs. I use CBD, cannabidiol-infused hemp lotions, oral sprays, and topical oils. Thank you, Toledo Hemp Center, for helping me restore and maintain my health with no side effects and no high. Find out more at ToledoHempCenter.com.
Does your dog or cat suffer with joint disorders, arthritis, anxiety, cancer, chronic pain, or other ailments? Hemp or cannabis-based medicinal products are now legal. Why should your pets go without the same options that we have available? Try Sativus, a daily hemp oil with CBD. Sativus is quality inspected and made in the USA. Easy-to-use drops are applied directly to your pet's food. For your pet's wellness, try Sativus drops. Ask for Sativus at your local pet store or learn more at petpain.com.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio show.
Man, you got it all.
So you can find us here Monday through Friday from 7 until 8 p.m. Just a heads up, this program may go an extra hour tonight. There's just so much to cover. And there's guests. We got to keep people hanging out. The news is this bit about the RFRA and how Indiana's new law may provide some protection to people using cannabis as a sacrament in their religious rites. Is that a double-edged sword? I think it might be. Our guest on the phone for this segment is Adjunct Professor at Boston University, Dr. Carl Ruck. Welcome to the program, Carl. Can you hear us? Dr. Ruck.
Yeah, I can't hear you well.
You cannot hear me well. Okay. Let's see if we can turn you up a little bit. Is this a little bit better now? Hello, check one.
Yeah, it's still a little clouded, but yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
That's pretty good now.
Okay, we got you turned up now. So it seems that you're the expert on theology when it comes to the use of cannabis in religion. Am I correct in that characterization?
Well, almost. Chris Bennett in Vancouver, Canada, is probably the expert on cannabis. But I've done a lot of writing on the use of psychoactive substances as religious Eucharists, and cannabis is one of them.
This goes back a long time, doesn't it, Professor?
Yes, yes.
Can you give us a, kind of an overview about this? I mean, and I don't want to go on and on forever about it, but can you give us an overview of different cultures or kind of give us a nutshell about what that is, past history, the old school?
Well, I began being interested in the irrational sources of creative inspiration. And so when I was a graduate student, I planned to work on Dionysus, the rites of wine and Dionysus and theater and things like that. And my thesis director, who sort of grabbed onto me, I mean, I had no idea I was going to work with him. He decided I should work in epigraphy, and he gave me an inscription that had to do with the theater. This is better. You can do the other stuff later, but this will get you through. And so I did that. But I was always interested in the rites of Dionysus. And in the course of that, I became aware of the fact that wine was more than ordinary alcoholic intoxication. And so in the course of that investigation, I became involved with Gordon Wasson, the banker who devoted his spare time, and then after he retired, his time into investigating the role of mushrooms in religious experience. And this came about from the fact that he married a Russian emigre, and on their honeymoon, they were walking in the Catskills, and she found these beautiful mushrooms growing everywhere, and he thought they were all loathsome. And so she cooked them up and ate them. He refused to eat them. And they realized that there was something going on here. And so they spent their spare time together before she died in investigating the way mushrooms appear in folklore and art in Europe. And they wrote a book called Mushrooms, Russia, and History. And in the course of this investigation, Wasson became aware of the fact that there was some kind of religious role, apparently, that involved a taboo against the mushroom. The mushroom is weird. I'm talking about it. I'm not supposed to talk or talk to other people. I mean, I'm lecturing. But there's something strange about a substance when it doesn't have a name. And it turns out the mushroom has no name in English. It has only metaphors. Whereas her Russian background had about 40 names for the mushrooms. They realized there was a cultural divide between them, and they investigated how this occurred in European folklore and art. The mushroom in English, you can call it a fungus, and that's scientific, and that's not a name either. It's from the Latin, and that's the equivalent of the Greek spongos, and so it's the spongy thing. That's not a name for it. And you can call it a champignon, but that's a French import, and it means it grows in the field, which isn't true. And you can call it a toadstool, which involves a whole mythological scenario of a loathsome toad sitting on this as its stool. The word mushroom itself is an importation from the French as early as the 16th century into English, and you can trace it back to a late Latin word, musare, which means, and in French it becomes musari, and it means the thing that moves, the thing that bellows. And so that's not a name either; it's a metaphor. You've zoomorphized it as a bull or a cow, and so there's something strange about something that's too sacred to have a name. And the things that are too sacred to have names are divine, like Yahweh, which is not his name. There are 4 consonants that you must never pronounce correctly, because if you were to pronounce it correctly, you would be able to control the deity. And so the name is secret, and the safe way to say it is Yahweh. And so when something doesn't have a name but only metaphors, there's something weird about it.
Sir, are you telling me that before there was cannabis in religion, there were mushrooms?
Well, probably all of these psychoactive substances were involved in religion. Now, you're interested particularly in cannabis, and you want to know whether it had a role in religion.
Right.
And
a legitimate role, one that's...
It definitely did.
Bona fide.
It was prohibited from profane use, but in Exodus, in the Bible, you have a long description of how you're to make the holy anointing oil for the priesthood. And the ingredients of this substance are huge. And most people read the Bible in translation. And so they see something called fragrant cane. And they're unaware of the fact that this translates the Hebrew. And Hebrew, again, has only consonants, so you don't know how to vocalize them.
You got to put a hook in it.
You can vocalize it as kanabosum. And at least... almost 100 years ago now, it was recognized by linguists that kanabosum is cannabis, and it is actually the name that the Scythians used for this substance. And we have clear evidence of the Scythian use of it in a religious ceremony.
Isn't myrrh a psychoactive thing? Doesn't myrrh have some kind of drug trait to it?
All of these substances have psychoactive abilities. Yes, all of them do. Well, not all of them, but most of them do. Yes, myrrh certainly does. Most of the fragrant incenses are psychoactive. But as for cannabis, it's right there in the Old Testament, in the anointing oil that's to be used for the priest. And as you know, psychoactive substances are absorbed through the skin. But it's more than that. On Yom Kippur, the high priest, and this was anyone who does this who's not of the priesthood is creating a crime. But the high priest enters the inner tabernacle with a brazier of burning cannabis in a small space, and once a year he communes with Yahweh. Yahweh comes down and materializes to him, and he reconsecrates the marriage of Israel to the God. And this is called hotboxing. In a small space, burning cannabis vapors would be very psychoactive.
So it's like an old school version of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, where they pull out of they all pour out of the bus, and the smoke's curling out. The same thing's going on here in this little religious ceremony. They're all together clam bacon in there.
Yeah.
So this is not very far away from the American Indians' version of the peace pipe and the connection with God.
Of course, the peace pipe did have psychoactive substances that were being burned.
It did or did not?
It did. Yes, it definitely did.
And what about the tents where you go into the tent and you they do this today sometimes with just these big hot tents out in the wilderness in the West. And they work themselves up into such a condition that there's a spiritual connection.
Yes. The ritual helps identify the experience as religious.
So this goes back how far? 2,000, 3,000 years?
Probably there are indications of it from the Paleolithic, of the use of psychoactive substances in rituals, probably in cave rituals. And it was probably the origin of humankind's first awareness that there was another dimension and that it was divine.
And this
people who can control the experience, of course, these are the gifted ones who are called the wise ones and the shamans and so forth. They know how to use this experience so that they do things which we would call paranormal. They can't do that sort of thing, but they can. They can travel great distances just by thinking it, and they could actually commune with spirits of power and so forth, and we need them in order to act as conduits with an experience that we are not well enough equipped to handle.
Look, Professor, this is fascinating information. Can you hang on with us through the break? We've got about a few more minutes in the program. I got some other questions about modern-day religion. Can you stand by, and we'll come back with Adjunct Professor Dr. Carl Ruck on the Full Melt program. Hang on. If you want to participate in the program, call toll-free 1-844-420-TALK.
You're getting the Full Melt.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at canalock.com. Visit canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Dorr Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
People believe lots of things. A recent study showed that 1 in 5 thought the sun revolved around the earth. 50% believe they can sense someone staring at the back of their head. Some fake beliefs can make you laugh, but others are dangerous. Like the misconception, recently dispelled by the American Medical Association, that marijuana has no medicinal value, which caused police departments over the past century to arrest millions. So, will cops change their minds now that medical marijuana is legalized? Just because you confront a misconception with facts, don't think that people will automatically see the light. When the issue is our perceived safety, facts and logic often do not apply. It goes beyond the simple resistance to admitting you are wrong. It has to do with how ideas take root in our brains. When we first hear something, it gets processed in an area deep in our brain called the hippocampus. But as we think about it and remember it, it gets more deeply written into our cerebral cortex. Rewriting those deep beliefs is especially hard. When false beliefs face new information, it turns out the truth doesn't always set people free.
You know, it's not easy out there but it can be easier. And when it comes to medical marijuana in Michigan and chronic pain management, Dr. Bob Townsend, renowned for his patient advocacy and deep understanding of how patients and medical marijuana certifications fit together, makes it his hallmark to educate and provide the best holistic treatment for your condition. Now, his knowledgeable staff makes you feel warm and welcome, and Dr. Bob makes you feel well. With locations across the state in Cadillac and Gaylord, Kalamazoo, Marquette, Mount Pleasant, Muskegon, Saginaw, Traverse City, you can't beat the convenience and feeling you get knowing you have someone on your side that cares. Denali Healthcare is on the web at denalihealthcaremi.com. Get answers to your holistic health questions or schedule an appointment now by calling 989-339-4464. Chronic pain management and holistic health answers is what they do. It's all they do. DenaliHealthcareMI.com. Get your certification and peace of mind now by making an appointment with Dr. Bob Townsend at 989-339-4464.
The Full Melt.
Well, that was most unfortunate. I think I stopped the audio for the program. That is not a good idea. Oh, good Lord. So, look, I'm just going to bring our guest back on. Sometimes those things happen in live radio. I kicked the space bar. The keyboard's on the floor. I kicked the space bar and stopped our audio.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back to the program, Dr. Carl Ruck, Adjunct Professor at Boston University. I just wanted to ask you, because you're an expert on the subject of a psychoactive substance in these theologies.
Yes.
And you were talking before about some of the history of psychoactive substance, going back a long time.
Yes.
Looking forward, are there some modern churches that are incorporating this policy? And then also, are any of the traditional churches, what's their view on this? It seems to me that it's probably a negative one. I'll lay dollars to donuts that there is no frankincense, myrrh, or cannabinoids in the anointing oil.
Well, the UDV Church, which is began in Brazil but is now worldwide, they have an ayahuasca sacrament. And it's a Christian religion that's assimilated native pre-conquest religious traditions, but it is a Christian tradition. And the native American church in North America, they have won the right to have their peyote sacrament. It's partially Christianized, but it's not really Christian anymore. But there are Christian churches that have such a sacrament. And definitely the UDV. And the Santo Daime is very similar to the UDV. Santo Daime is dialectal Portuguese for Saint Give Me. And they have the same ayahuasca sacrament, assimilated from pre-conquest religion, but essentially a Christian religion.
Now, so there is no myrrh, they're frankincense. They're not using this stuff anymore. But in tradition,
they do still use it in high Catholicism.
Really?
And I heard from people who have assisted at Mass that when they smell the incense, they really are getting quite high.
Well,
by the time it gets to the audience, to the congregation, it's been diluted, but if you're close to it, it is psychoactive.
And it seems funny that nobody's ever reported, I guess a lot of people do talk about coming out of church feeling pretty good.
Yeah, that's probably not because of the incense.
I would hope not. It's just, it's a very delicate subject, this because the traditional churches, the mainstream ones, have all demonized all of these kind of substances.
Well, it goes back originally to the idea that the church is a political organization that will manage your communication with the divine, and you pay them for that. And if you can do that without them, they lose their source of income.
So there's a financial incentive here.
Well, it was originally, yeah. Now it's become so complicated by the abuse of psychoactive substances And we do have to realize that they are quite dangerous. Not only is there the possibility of overdose or of taking in a contaminated sample, but in addition to that, the great danger is that they allow you to think out of the box. And society can't handle too many people that are thinking out of the box because they go around like loonies and undermine social cohesion.
So there's a concern that the psychoactive substance on which some of these sacraments are founded, some of the principles, the idea that you can commune closer with God if you have this substance available to channel you.
You have to have had proper preparation, indoctrination, in order for it to be safe.
Well, correct.
The Catholic Church was not in favor even of having the Bible translated into English or into the common languages because you can misread what it says. You have to have proper background education to be able to understand it, which is true.
Well, a lot of the words that the Bible was written in don't have direct English translations.
No, of course not. And most people are unaware of the fact that the Bible was not written by God. It was written by many people who claimed that they had received messages from the deity. And not only that, but it's been rewritten and rewritten by centuries after centuries of scholars. So this is not the Word of God.
Would one of the most prolific rewritings of the Bible be under King James?
That was a really great translation of it, and that was part of the opening up of religious experience to the common man, so that you could read the Bible in your own language and didn't have to count on having the church or the priest tell you what it said.
Now, didn't King James and the Catholic Church itself sit down and edit the books of the Bible and the books that were left out of the Bible? Because there are a number of them, aren't there?
Yeah, but that was done a long time ago. It was done in the 4th century, very early recognition of Christianity in the Roman Empire. They decided which books were good and which books weren't. And they decided on various standards which we would not accept today. For example, there are 4 pillars to the world, so there should only be 4 Gospels. There were many other Gospels, but since there are only 4 pillars, where are the 4 pillars of the world? But they knew there were 4 pillars to the universe, and so there could only be 4 Gospels.
Are there, in any of those books that were edited out, and we've just got a couple of seconds left in the program, are you aware of any referencing to psychoactive substance in some of these books that have been removed from the Bible?
There are certainly references to ecstatic experience, which and very much in the same terminology as the ancient orgiastic experiences with deities like Dionysus.
Professor, I just have to thank you for coming on the program today and kind of helping us spell out what this is from history.
I'm sorry we had so little time, but...
No, that's okay. That's quite all right. There's still another hour to come. I've got another guest to bring on the program here.
Yes.
He's the founder of the First Church of Cannabis, and we'll talk to him, Bill Levin, in just a moment, coming back after the break. Carl, thank you for coming on the program.
Okay.
Do appreciate your consideration today.
Great, thank you.
Great interview. Stand by. Hour number 2 coming up on The Full Melt Show. Stand by.
The Full Melt Show is a production of the Multimedia Digital Network.
The Full Melt.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
This is The Full Melt.
The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. FullMelt.com. Toll free. 844-420-TALK. 844-420-TALK.
About a 2-hour show. I think that's a bonus show. There's so much to talk about in this funny world of cannabis. I couldn't squeeze this subject alone all into just 1 hour. I could have, but so much would have been left out. So we got a view now of religion the history of psychoactive substance, there seems to be a legitimate foundation for this. I have to wait until after the break. About another 10 minutes. We'll get Bill Levin on. Now, Bill today was in the Huffington Post. Let me see if I can find this crazy article, because here it is right here. Indiana's new religious freedom law has been widely criticized and condemned by many, but an innovative marijuana activist in the state is using the bill's legal protections as a means to set up a new religious sect, the First Church of Cannabis, where members would aim to use marijuana freely as a sacrament in a state where the substance remains banned. It's a new religion for people who have to live in our day and age, Bill Levin says, the church's founder. He told the Huffington Post this in an interview on Monday. All these old religions, guys walking across the desert without Dr. Scholl's inserts, drinking wine out of goat bladders, no compass, speaking Latin and Hebrew. I cannot relate to that shit. I drive by Burger King, bars, and cornfields. I cannot relate to an antique magic book. As Indiana Governor Mike Pence, the Republican governor there, signed the controversial Religious Freedom Restoration Act last Thursday, Levin was filing church registration paperwork with the Secretary of State, which approved on Friday, and he announced on the church's Facebook page this approval. Levin is dead serious about his new church. He says it's founded on universal principles of love, respect, equality, and compassion. And similarly to other religious movements like the Rastafarians in Jamaica, who see cannabis use as a sacrament, Levin said the members of his church will adopt a similar belief in that plant. But unlike the Rastas, there's not a traditional deity at the top of this faith. Now, mind you, and I'm not quoting the article anymore, but mind you that the Rastafarians had at the top of their religious shelf God, the traditional Christian God. But they felt closer to God when they communed with cannabis. And so they used cannabis as a vessel, as a gateway, as a connector to God, and felt perfectly comfortable doing that. He says it has nothing to do with God. I don't have the balls to describe God to anybody, says Levin. This is a God-filled or a godless religion. It's entirely up to you. Last week, as he began sketching out the details of his new church, he wrote out the foundational tenets of the faith, which he called the New Deity Dozen, and provided those to the Huffington Post. Levin says these are not commandments. It sounds an awful lot like commandments, doesn't it? These 12 tenets of faith. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm a skeptic. These are paths that are simply available to you. Use them if you like, said Levin. He said the church is founded on 12 principles. They are as follows. Don't be an asshole. Treat everyone with love as an equal. The day starts with your smile every morning when you get up. Wear it first. Help others when you can, not for money, but because it's needed. Treat your body as a temple. Do not poison it with poor quality foods and sodas. Do not take advantage of people. Do not intentionally hurt anything. Never start a fight. Only finish them. Grow food, raise animals, get nature into your daily routine. Do not be a troll on the internet. Respect others without name-calling and being vulgarly aggressive. Spend at least 10 minutes a day just contemplating life in a quiet space. When you see a bully, stop them by any means possible. Protect those who cannot protect themselves. Laugh often. Share humor. Have fun in life. Be positive. Cannabis, the healing plant, quote unquote, the healing plant, is our sacrament. It brings us closer to ourselves and others. It is our foundation of health, our love, curing us from illness and depression. We embrace it with our whole heart and spirit, individually and as a group. That's what he told the Huffington Post, are the tenets of the religion. What do you think? Sounds pretty modern. As for sacred texts, the First Church of Cannabis won't look toward traditional religious books like the Bible or the Quran. We're going to have a good book, Levin said. The first good book that we're going to authorize in the church and share is the first good book we all read. Levin said that's The Emperor Wears No Clothes, Hemp and the Marijuana Conspiracy, a classic cannabis history book by Jack Herer, first published in 1985. It's an educational Bible about our number one sacrament, Levin said, adding that he hopes to make copies available for potential members of the new faith. Levin said he's strongly against his state's controversial RFRA, but he said that he'll take full advantage of the legal loopholes the bill may create. Now, that's the underpinning of this program. The legal loopholes that the RFRA is creating for people like Bill Levin, who's long been a cannabis activist. No stranger to marijuana advocacy, Levin said he's worked for years to change the laws in his home state through an organization he founded, Re-Legalize Indiana. I mean, isn't that what they're doing? They're re-legalizing it because it was legal long before that was prohibited. And its legality its history long endured before Prohibition. Prohibition's about 100 years old. It's right on that cusp. I fought this bill tooth and nail, said Levin. And because our brave and brilliant governor, he continued, his voice brimming with sarcasm, he opened up the door for me to take my campaign to religion. The state will not interfere with religious belief. Well, buddy, my religious belief is green with red hairs, and boy, do I like to smoke it. Marijuana is still illegal in Indiana, so it remains unclear if Levin's plan would work under current state laws. I would say, as somebody who's not a lawyer, but somebody who's pretty familiar with civics, government, and law, despite that fact, that he probably has some umbrella protection under the RFRA with this church, provided certain conditions exist, just like was explained by the good reverend out at the Green Faith Ministries in Colorado yesterday on this very program. While a church that includes sacramental marijuana use is not without precedent, and several have emerged in the United States with varying degrees of success, much of their ability to survive hinges on a state at least decriminalizing marijuana, if not legalizing it for limited purposes. But Abdul Kahim Shabazz, an Indiana attorney and political commenter, told Raw Story that if Levin can convince the state that under the RFRA, smoking marijuana is part of his religious practices, he may have a pretty good shot, quote unquote, of getting off scot-free. Levin says the announcement of the church has created a firestorm of interest and support. He set up a crowdfunding account last week when the church first received notice that its registration was approved by the state, and as of Monday morning, the church had already raised close to $2,000. Now, he created this last Thursday. By the following Monday, had $2,000 in the account. And he told me, I'll let him tell you himself, because he's coming on the program in moments. He also said that he has personally received thousands of messages of support and hundreds of people ready to volunteer to help him with his mission. The church's Facebook page, set up just days ago, already has more than 5,000 likes. Levin said that with the funds he receives, he wants to rent a building for at least the first year. I want to have a place where everyone can go, he said, adding that the church won't provide marijuana to the congregation because they don't want to break federal laws. But if he is able to find a space, he said, we will welcome the use of marijuana by members. Sound familiar? Does it sound unfamiliar? Does it sound scary to you? If people do come to church and feel like celebrating, my church is going to allow smoking because it's part of our sacrament. Hallelujah, brother. Pray, pray, pray. And that's how the article ends from the Huffington Post. What do you think about this? Religion, people say if you want to keep good conversation, leave religion and politics out. Because religion and politics always make people spit fire mad. I'll tell you, I've got a friend of mine who's highly conservative. He's definitely part of what I would call, and he may deem it differently, the right-wing fringe. He's a hardcore Christian. He is of the belief that he stands by all the talking points of the Republicans in the current administration. And anytime I talk to him, and I told him the story today, I said, did you hear yesterday's program? He said, no, I didn't get a chance to hear it. I said, look, I'm going to tell you what was on the program, but I don't want to engage you politically. I don't want to push your buttons. I don't want to make you mad. I'm not asking your opinion about this. I'm not giving you mine. I'm simply telling you what happened and what's in the news. Can we do that? Sure. What was in the news? And I started to tell him, and I didn't get through the first paragraph before he stopped and started interjecting his personal feeling. Well, wait a minute. How could that be true? Oh, you can't even buy that. How could you buy? That's not even true. Oh, this is craziness. And I'm like, look, I'm not trying to, look, just listen. I'm telling you a story. This is like reading out of a book. Just listen to the story. Don't ask any questions because I have no answers. Just listen to the story. I'm not making you mad. And I started to tell him a little bit more right away. Back to the being furious. So furious that before he got off the phone, it was an uncomfortable conversation that was, I had a good Spitfire pissed off already just by discussing the fact that this content was on the show yesterday and now today. And that's how people are about this subject. When you start bringing religion, especially religion and stuff like drug policy together. Oh, boy. He was so mad he didn't want to open. Oh, that's blasphemous, he says. I can't even believe you. No. I'm gonna go. Click. Hung up on me. And this is a friend of mine. Look, we can agree to disagree. He's still my buddy. A lot of guys in Congress are like this. They go up and stand at the pulpit. And no, this way, left, right. Conservative, liberal. Libby's on the table. No, that's a long time ago. So they make a big point of this, but then they turn around. So they're spitting fire at each other at their political pulpit on each side, in their respective houses. But then when you pull them together after work, when they take their little congressional pin button off, the one that gives them access to those chambers, past the security detail, when they take that off at night and put it in the drawer, a lot of them sleep together on K Street there. They're over there. Look, they're living out of town, so they got their little bunker. It's like a little. It's like a clubhouse. It's almost like a fraternity. And many of them hang out together. They eat together. They sleep together. They snack together. They're best buddies. But then you bring the politics in and Spitfire mad. All the religion comes out, and all the anger, and all the hatred. What happened to the love? We'll find out what happened to the love when we talk to Bill Levin. Coming up after the commercial break, he's the founder in Indiana of the First Church of Cannabis in response to Governor Pence's signing of the RFRA last Thursday.
You're getting the full melt.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at Canalock.com. Visit Canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
Well, this formula is specifically to grow cannabis.
That's Ray Kogo for Kogo's original cannabis formula nutrients.
Now, everybody knows that large buds and tight buds come from genetics, and then the amount of light you use. The other part is having the correct nutrients that the plant's going to use. Mine specifically to grow cannabis, so it's going to get everything that it needs.
Ray knows what you may not. Those nutrient companies you can get in most grow shops are not cannabis specific. That means they take the stuff out of the bloom that your plant needs in bloom. You can get Kogo's original cannabis formula nutrients too. It's just 2 1-gallon jugs that make over 600 gallons of nutrients, all for less than $100. See the difference for yourself.
More trichomes, bigger buds, faster growth, and for less money.
Go to CANNABISformula.com or call Ray direct at 517-375-8998. That's 517-375-8998. Kogo's original cannabis formula nutrients.
Does your dog or cat suffer with joint disorders, arthritis, anxiety, cancer, chronic pain, or other ailments? Hemp or cannabis-based medicinal products are now legal. Why should your pets go without the same options that we have available? Try Sativus, a daily hemp oil with CBD. Sativus is quality inspected and made in the USA. Easy-to-use drops are applied directly to your pet's food. For your pet's wellness, try Sativus drops. Ask for Sativus at your local pet store or learn more at petpain.com.
It's not easy out there, but it can be easier. And when it comes to medical marijuana in Michigan and chronic pain management, Dr. Bob Townsend, renowned for his patient advocacy and deep understanding of how patients and medical marijuana certifications fit together, makes it his hallmark to educate and provide the best holistic treatment for your condition. His knowledgeable staff makes you feel warm and welcome, and Dr. Bob makes you feel well. With locations across the state in Cadillac and Gaylord, Kalamazoo, Marquette, Mount Pleasant, Muskegon, Saginaw, Traverse City, you can't beat the convenience and feeling you get knowing you have someone on your side that cares. Denali Healthcare is on the web at DenaliHealthcareMI.com. Get answers to your holistic health questions or schedule an appointment now by calling 989-339-4464. Chronic pain management and holistic health answers is what they do. It's all they do. DenaliHealthcareMI.com. Get your certification and peace of mind now by making an appointment with Dr. Bob Townsend at 989-339-4464.
In this cold weather, I suffer many aches and pains, which keep me from doing the things I enjoy, like playing the piano, crafting, and spending time with my grandchildren. Toledo Hemp Center, 1419 Sylvania Avenue, has shown me there is an alternative to pharmaceutical drugs. I use CBD, cannabidiol, infused hemp lotions, oral sprays, and topical oils. Thank you, Toledo Hemp Center, for helping me restore and maintain my health with no side effects and no high. Find out more at ToledoHempCenter.com.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show. You know, growing up as a kid, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, because we didn't have the Cartoon Network when I was growing up. But you remember the Warner Brothers cartoon with Wile E. Coyote and the crazy dog, the dog that had the hair down over his head. He was a sheepdog. And, you know, on Saturday mornings, we'd get up and watch the cartoons. And there was always this one segment. It was a recurring segment. We'd see it all the time. Our cartoons when I was a kid, repeated horribly. You'd see the same cartoon maybe, I don't know, a couple times a year. Three times a year. Maybe four. If you watched them in syndication, you'd see it more often. But there was this one where, you know, the dog and the wolf, the coyote, mortal enemies. They're out there battling each other. They go through this whole routine about one chasing the other and one avoiding the other, and one's always getting smashed. And right in the middle of it, a bell rings. The dog is choking the coyote. He's got him in a grip that he's about to kill the coyote. And a bell rings. And all of a sudden, the sheepdog puts down the coyote. He's, it's the end of the workday, Ralph. And they'd reach over and grab a punch clock card and punch the time clock. Hey, have a good night, Ralph. Good day. Click. Punch that card. And they'd all walk off as friends. And that's how I see some of these guys in Congress doing. I was just describing that. You know, they're best buddies off the court. But you get them up on the gridiron and spit and fire. My good friend, the senator from such and such, is a complete jackass. That's horrible policy. Then they go home and hang out and drink beers and watch TV and talk about girls. And it's just so strange. Our guest this hour is Bill Levin. He's the founder of the First Church of Cannabis in Indiana. Just formed last Thursday. Welcome to the program, Bill.
Hi. Hello. How are you?
I'm terrific. Thank you for asking. It sounds like you are neck deep in alligators with the media and activism and responding to Governor Pence's RFRA initiative.
All I'm doing is sharing love, and I'm doing it as loud and as wide as possible.
There are some who would say, when they hear about this subject, because right now they're all mesmerized about the LGBT thing, that somebody's going to get discriminated against. That's really what this law was built around, is that central subject. Really about people being able to deny somebody, look, I don't want to make a cake for you because you guys are fags, and I can't deal with that. It's against the tenets of my religion. I can say fag because I'm gay.
Oh, okay. Well.
So we're not going to let you do that. We're not going to let you come here. No, you got to go. You go find another guy to make a cake because it's not going to be this guy. And most people would say that's equivalent to, you know, a black person going into a restaurant and being refused service. Oh, you can't come to this IHOP. We don't like your kind here. Go away. Go eat somewhere else. You're not welcome here. And that's just outright discrimination. And people have civil protections. They have civil rights in this country. And so does this amount to that? Are there some civil protections afforded under the RFRA, indeed, if you use cannabis as a sacrament in your religion, Bill Levin?
Well, we're certainly going to find out. I believe there is.
I think you might be right.
You know, cannabis is a part of American life. It's part of human life. It's part of human culture. We've had it around for years. It's time we have a religion where this is an official sacrament equality. I am pushing love, unconditional. So I came up with the new Deity Dozen. It's just 12 pathways to life. It's real simple stuff, and it relates to what's going on today. 100 million years ago, when Moses was walking around the desert, he did not have Dr. Scholl's inserts on his feet, and he didn't have a GPS.
No, he didn't.
We
he
live
didn't
in a
have
different
Twitter or
society.
Facebook or the internet.
Right. We live in a different society. We have to address these things. We drive by poison houses every day that serve burgers and fries and soda pop to our children. They have drive-through windows to poison people.
We still put brominated vegetable oil, BVO, in soda pop here. It's banned everywhere else.
Don't get me started on soda pop.
I'm just agreeing with you, Bill. I'm spreading the love.
Yeah, baby, I love it too. Unfortunately, I was the first Jolt Cola distributor in the state, so.
Holy cow!
Yeah. All the sugar, twice the caffeine, the need for a better tasting soft drink.
They still sell that Jolt. It's been upped by the Red Bulls of the world and the ultra high content caffeine energy drinks.
Right. But
I see kids running around with those energy drinks like they're going out of style. $4 a pop.
Jolt Cola into Indiana, they told me nobody would ever want to have a highly caffeinated drink, that I was crazy.
Tell that to the caffeine guys and the Starbucks people.
Yeah.
How does cannabis become a central focus of a religion? How does that work out? Is this because you truly have central beliefs about cannabis as a plant and that it's an integral part of your life and that it needs to be somehow celebrated and somehow revered and paid attention to and have some ceremony about it?
Well, I don't know about the ceremony.
Wait a minute. Isn't the art of smoking cannabis all by itself a bit of a ceremony?
Well, yes, of course. I mean, the love we put into breaking up a bud tenderly and just, getting it perfect for a joint, that's heartfelt prayer. Everybody does it, their own way, but the end of your prayer session, you're smiling.
Sure.
But
it's a process. It doesn't matter if people are using cannabis oil or wax, or if they're vaporizing, or if they're smoking a bowl, or smoking just marijuana itself, or using an edible. I mean, there's a whole sexy tease that goes into the lead up to the consumption, isn't there?
Yeah.
Isn't that ceremonial in and of itself every time you do it? It seems to me that there's a routine, a ritual there.
Yeah, there is. Everybody will have a personal ritual on how they partake to, keep their body healthy.
Right.
We have an endocannabinoid system in our body, right?
Endocannabinoid system, yes, sir, recently discovered, and an argument, I would say, that our bodies were evolved with this plant.
Our body, yes, and our body requires this plant as a health supplement, or it falls apart.
Agreed.
And the endocannabinoid system, it gets screwed up with pollution and bad food. And I got a dog. He never graduated from doctor school, but when he gets sick, he goes out across the yard, he walks across all the grass, he goes over to this one grass that's a little taller and a little more different, and he eats it, he throws up. His instinct told him that is the particular grass that is going to make you healthy.
That's the stuff he needed, so he sought it out.
Right. As human beings, we go to cannabis because we know it makes us healthy.
Would you agree with the concept that people who seek out cannabis, because they make up a small representation of the overall population, people who use cannabis routinely as a part of their everyday ritual, their everyday affairs.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you say that, wouldn't it be a good theoretical argument, because it's one that I'd like to make, that maybe some of these people are lacking in cannabinoids that their body needs? So again, just like the dog looking to make himself better in the stomach, seeks out the thing that causes that betterment. By balancing what was before lacking in a system that is dysfunctional, isn't that much the same thing? Should I call you Reverend now, Bill?
Yeah. Call me anything, just not late to dinner.
I don't like to be late for dinner either. So there's much akin here to basic fundamental human existence.
Yes.
This process of a religion and the plant. They seem to be entwined at some level.
Well, this plant, I answer to the plant. This plant has been lied about, misused. It's a good plant. It's a beautiful plant. It's a loving plant. It's a giving plant. It is a healthy plant. It is a plant that only brings good things, with the exception of that bastard Harry Anslinger who started this whole fucking landslide.
Well, and he did, too. He really tore down... let's just talk about that a second. I mean, he referred to, when he began the campaign to demonize cannabis, amongst the other drugs that he demonized, the idea that... and I lost my point. The cannabis... So the cannabis I did. I completely lost that thought. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Look, so Harry Anslinger, I know what it was. He takes the word cannabis, and he doesn't use cannabis. He doesn't say cannabis. He doesn't refer to the demon weed as cannabis. He calls it marijuana with the H in there.
Right.
And
that is correct.
Marijuana is a slang term in those days that most people were not familiar with. It wasn't part of popular culture, because when you went to the doctor who had this substance in every doctor had this substance in their bag in one form or another: a tincture, a lotion, a gel, a topical, some kind of oral spray. There are all kinds of different cannabis related remedies in a doctor's home visitation bag. They were all referred to as cannabis extract, cannabis this, cannabis that. That's how people knew this plant, this substance, before the Prohibition realm. And so he used the word marijuana as a way to deflect that popular notion, because everybody knew that they're going to get if they get sick and they get the flu, or the doctor's going to give you some kind of cough syrup or medicine that's got the cannabis in there. You're going to feel a lot better. It's going to help you sleep. You're going to get some rest. You're going to get some healing. But using the word marijuana, it's okay to demonize marijuana, because that's that weird thing that's coming from Mexico. Oh, we don't like those Mexican guys. It was a racist thing. And a way to confuse people.
No, it was straight up racist.
Do you think that there will be a challenge if you open a church and people openly partake of cannabis as a sacrament, as a religious rite in a part of church services, that somebody will make a complaint, or that some other action will be taken by the state to stop said activity inside that church?
I'm not worried about it. I'm really not. If they want to go through that dance, I'll dance. No problem.
So you're willing to take on that challenge?
Yeah. Look, what I am doing is based on love, compassion, understanding, equality. I have the best foundation in the world. I am an honest man who is doing a good thing.
But your detractors, Bill Levin, would say that you're just a cannabis activist. This has always been about free the weed. We still believe that this is a dangerous, harmful substance that should not, in the quote of Chris Christie, be allowed in our society. That it's a slippery slope, that all of the reasonable research, all the objective material that we have on this subject tells us that this is bad for society. And they're going to say, aren't you, Bill Levin, just a cannabis activist using religion as a skirt to hide from your criminal activity? Isn't that what this is? They would say.
No, I put forth a standard of living that I have lived, the 12 pathways of life. Okay? And I said, I want to open a church. And, people looked at me for years and said, you smoke religiously. And I said, yes, I do.
Pun intended.
All I did is start a church and say, this is my, this is what I believe in. If you believe in it, please come to our church and pray.
You're not saying that anybody that comes to the church has got to use marijuana, no?
No. Look, I don't care if you smoke or if you don't smoke. We are celebrating joy, life, positive things. We're not going to ask you to stand up, sit down, kneel, go in a box and tell all your sins. If we have a box, it's going to be a laugh box, and you got to go in the box and tell a joke.
A laugh box. I like the idea. But there are going to be people who point at that and say that is just a lie, that is all just a good reason to go party somewhere.
Well, wait a minute. They're saying that because I don't believe in their magic book, and I'm not following their magic book. I'm sorry. I'm writing my own new book, and it's not going to be about magic. It's going to be about humans, love, and compassion.
In the traditional sense, if you went to a Catholic church, you couldn't be saved under certain conditions. I mean, you got to be baptized. You have to be reborn in the Holy Spirit. I mean, there are certain things that you have to agree to do. There's a ceremony. It's officiated.
Right.
Wait a minute. Wait, Bill. Just hang on a second. It's being officiated by a reverend, somebody who's been granted, ordained, an ability to perform these ceremonies in this kind of a church. So you know, I'm just kind of drawing the correlation. Maybe there isn't one. Maybe you can tell me I'm full of shit. But
no, I don't want that kind of dogma in my church.
Well, I'm just saying, in that situation, you couldn't be saved. In this one, not using cannabis is not going to keep you from being a part of the harmony that you're preaching, the love, the community, the sense of good spirit and goodwill in your church can still be had without this participation in consumption of cannabis.
Right.
But for those who find that the cannabis would be a stronger bridge to that happiness, by all means. Am I correct?
Yeah. It's look, we're just sharing love,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
And we're doing it with cannabis because, bottom line, when you leave church, what do? You go home and you smoke a joint. Before you go to church, you go smoke a joint. It's why not bring the joint into the service? It's part of your lifestyle. Churches are meant to be something that fulfill your faith and your spiritual need, not to follow somebody's doctrine from 5,000 years ago.
I gotcha. Our guest this hour is Bill Levin, a founder of the First Church of Cannabis in Indiana, in response to the RFRA signed by Governor Bill Pence of that state.
Mike Pence.
I'm sorry, Mike Pence. My mistake. Stand by. We'll talk more with him after the break. Hang on.
You're getting the full melt.
If you or someone you know received a traffic ticket, has been charged with a misdemeanor, drinking and driving, criminal offense, or has had their driver's license taken away, they need an attorney. They need attorney Glenn McCandless. He's helped hundreds of people solve their legal problems over the past 16 years.
My law firm is dedicated to providing quality legal services at affordable rates.
Call us at 586-755-2900. Again, that's 586-755-2900. Call now.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience, bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Dorr Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at Canalock.com. Visit Canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
In this cold weather, I suffer many aches and pains, which keep me from doing the things I enjoy, like playing the piano, crafting, and spending time with my grandchildren. Toledo Hemp Center, 1419 Sylvania Avenue, has shown me there is an alternative to pharmaceutical drugs. I use CBD, cannabidiol, infused hemp lotions, oral sprays, and topical oils. Thank you, Toledo Hemp Center, for helping me restore and maintain my health with no side effects and no high. Find out more at ToledoHempCenter.com.
Does your dog or cat suffer with joint disorders, arthritis, anxiety, cancer, chronic pain, or other ailments? Hemp or cannabis-based medicinal products are now legal. Why should your pets go without the same options that we have available? Try Sativus, a daily hemp oil with CBD. Sativus is quality inspected and made in the USA. Easy-to-use drops are applied directly to your pet's food. For your pet's wellness, try Sativus drops. Ask for Sativus at your local pet store or learn more at petpain.com.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio Show.
Look, I played this song yesterday, not this song, but a song yesterday going into the beginning of the program called High in Church. It's actually a comedy piece done by the people at Comedy Central. There's a song, it was produced by a group. They're a comedy group. I think they might do comedy songs. I'm not sure. I didn't see it beyond this piece. But it's called High in Church. And I'm telling you, the moment I started playing that, and even the reference I made to my friend about playing that song going into yesterday's show, infuriated some people. Just absolutely outright enraged them.
Great. Give it to me and post it on my page.
So are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Say, were you talking to me or were you talking off air?
No, I was going to ask you to please post it on my page.
Oh, that piece, that bit, that song.
The Bill Levin page on Facebook.
Yeah, I'll definitely go there and post. It's a YouTube video.
Yeah. I have a Canna broadcast page under my real name, separate from the church.
Okay. So, yeah, I'll for sure do that. It's also available there at thefulmelt.com, yesterday's program. It's ahead of yesterday's show. But I'll post it on your your page because it's very funny. But see, what it does is it talks about, it paints this picture of some kids, typical kids hanging out in one of their friends' bedrooms. They've got a bong, a couple of mushroom caps and stems. I don't see them doing the stems or the caps in the video. But the video starts with the one guy smoking on the bong and telling him his friend how he's got to, hit this shit. You got to hit this shit, buddy. And the other guy takes it and he hits it. Oh, dude, you got to hit this shit. He passes it on to him. And the other guy's like, he takes a little bit of puff and they're like, look at him like, what was that? Oh, you got to do more than that. And then he takes a big rip and he holds it in for a second. He blows it out. There's this big puff of smoke and he coughs and they're like, yeah. They're like, and then knock at the door. Boom, boom, boom. And the door swings open and it's Mom. Hey, Trevor, put your shoes on. It's time to go to midnight mass. And he gets the deer in the headlights look. And then the song begins, High in Church. And he's talking about how has to go to church and he's all stoned and everybody knows he's stoned. And he's talking loud and he's fighting with his brother and the pastor asks him to go outside and leave. And, he paints this huge picture. It's hilarious. But the point that it makes is that, and he even exclaims in the song, look, I didn't intend to get stoned. My friends put me up to this. I was just checking it out. But then I had to go to church. So now here I am uncomfortably stoned in church and everybody's got to know. The birds must know I'm stoned. So it's a really funny song. But when you start mixing those issues, drugs and church together, boy, it's just like setting flame to a short-fused bomb. Somebody somewhere is going to explode immediately. That is so blasphemous. What are you doing? I don't think that it necessarily is. I think it's making a statement. I think it's making a point. Is it? I think it's just generally funny. I think when you take two things juxtaposed and you mix them together, you get comedy. It happens all the time.
Yeah, and if you look at our doctrine, number 11, make people laugh.
Share that comedy. I think it's an important part. Comedy's just as important to a body's health as something like cannabis might be, or something like food may be.
Oh, laughing is great medicine.
It releases all kinds of chemicals in your body that need to get moved around. So, what is the future of the First Church of Cannabis? You've collected how much now? The report in the Huffington Post said by Monday you had a couple grand. Has it gone up?
Yeah, we had yeah. It's over 4,000.
And so if people wanted to contribute to your fund to help grow your church, you've got like a funding page?
We have a GoFundMe page, yeah. It's under the First Church of Cannabis.
Okay. And so...
they're called Cannabitarians, by the way.
Cannabitarians. I like it.
Yeah, what are you? I'm a Cannabitarian. I smoke religiously.
Bill, I just got to say, tongue-in-cheek, you're a funny guy. I have to appreciate you for your point of view and the way that you encapsulate an idea.
Hey, if you got to have fun in life. It's a great adventure. If the whole world's a stage, why dress as an extra?
Look, if you'd never raise enough to open the first church, and I think you probably will, I think you'll have more success in that realm than I'm willing to give you credit for. I really think that you probably will have some success in that place. But given the idea that you don't, let's say you don't get enough money put together, you don't get enough people put together, this just ends up being something you do mostly on your own. Didn't you accomplish something at the same time in forming this church? You went down on the same day that the governor Governor Pence signed this bill into law, very controversially. So controversially that he had to go back and walk back his words from George Stephanopoulos last Sunday about we're not changing this, we're not going to modify this law. It's not happening. And we're not going to create any protections against the gays. It's not going to happen. Forget about it. This is about protecting religious rights and stopping the state from interfering in that place. And stop trying to mix it up. He had to walk back from that today and say, he still said, everybody's mischaracterizing this. It's all confusing. But we're going to change the law so that, people don't run from Indiana because we don't want to give them the wrong impression. So we are going to create at least a companion bill, and I'm going to sign it into law. I want to get on my desk by the end of the week that this law does not give anybody permission to discriminate against any group or any individual for any reason. So we walked back from that today. This is how much vitriol has been injected into this argument. It makes me mad sometimes just watching the governor talk because on Sunday's interview with George Stephanopoulos, he would not answer that question. Does this law give people the right to discriminate, governor? Yes or no? Never would answer that question. He always went back to the talking points. That's the training, the talking points.
Yeah. Now I got to say, you see how he did that? You see how he did not say yes or no?
Oh, it was very clear. It was angering. It even made George Stephanopoulos visibly pissed off that he wouldn't answer that question directly.
Mike is one of the most mechanical speakers I have ever seen in my life. When he ran for office, the people against him were just blasting fact after fact after fact after fact of all his failures.
And just like Teflon, he'd shoot him off his shoulder. Bing, bing, bing. I'm still standing. What else you got?
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen anybody take, verbal shotgun blast to the head so many times and just stand there like he's Iron Man.
Look, remember when who was it? Senator Rubio had that deer in the headlights moment, grabbing the water in front of a national camera. He's on the what is it? Is the Republican response to the presidential address or something? Or was it during a political campaign? I don't remember, but the national spotlight's on him, and he's being interviewed, and he has to reach off for a cup of water, and he's drinking, and he's sweating profusely. It's the old Nixon thing. It's the same thing that Nixon did during the television interview with President Kennedy. He sweated it out because he knows he's in the spotlight, and he's a deer in the headlights. Same thing happened with Governor Pence with Stephanopoulos when he just put him point blank, Governor, answer this question. What is... Stop it. Say it already. And the level of frustration, he had to swallow, he had to take a space. I mean, there was the same thing as the Rubio thing. And it had the same effect. Rubio lost his favor. He went down in the polls just like Christie did with the Bridgegate thing. Didn't Governor Pence, didn't that happen to him with this escapade?
Yeah, I don't think they've done a local poll on Pence's popularity recently, but
well, look, he chased half the business out of the country side of Indiana in a single day. All these people saying we're not going to expand. We don't promote this. They're blasting him on Facebook. We were going to come here and locate, but now we're double thinking it. Look at all the universities that have. Isn't that the headquarters of all the fraternities across the country?
Yeah.
In Indiana, right there.
We are losing companies daily. Every morning I get up and I play Another One Bites the Dust.
Oh, I do not. I hope that business does well. I hope that Indiana does well. I want to spread goodwill and good thoughts. Isn't that part of the tenets of your church?
Yes. Oh, no, it is. But, every time I read another article in the Star, it turns out somebody else is leaving. So then I just play that song in my head. Bump, bump, bump. They killed another one. Another one bites the dust.
Right. Well, it's happening. And the threats of it happening on a massive scale were being tossed towards the governor and the state legislature, and they had no choice but to respond with a full-blown press conference live across the country on several cable channels. And I'm sure I didn't get a chance to watch the nightly news tonight, but I'm sure it was one of the 3 top billed stories.
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I'm sure they said a lot of nothing. They're a shameless crew of misfits over there.
Michigan is positioned much in the same way as Indiana in this affair. And the Free Press, I read earlier today on this program, the Detroit Free Press said in an article today that there are 3 different bills in the state of Michigan that they're considering the language of in adopting a similar RFRA proposal. However, I also have to note that Michigan, exactly like Indiana, gives no protection in Michigan's Elliott Larson bill, which is the law that gives protection to certain classes, age, race, discrimination, this kind of stuff, ethnic, creed, all that stuff. They would not give any protection to LGBT. They decided this recently, just in the last legislative session. They were not going to add to the Elliott Larson bill. Not going to happen. Not enough support in the legislature to make that happen. And here they are in the very next legislative session, begging to borrow the trouble of your fine governor in your state and pull that blanket directly over their own heads. Do you see some problem with this scenario? And why would they choose to do that?
Politics are strictly corporate beliefs who finance the politicians. Let's be real.
It's all about the money, isn't it?
Everything in politics is about money. There's nothing other than money involved in politics, and if anybody thinks otherwise, they are delusional.
Really quick, how can people find you on Facebook or on the internet?
You can find me on Facebook at Bill J. Levin. I do a Canacast daily from there. Been doing it for 5-6 years now.
All right.
And,
Bill Levin, we got to run to break. We're up against the clock. Thank you for being on the program. Fascinating conversation tonight.
Thank you.
Getting the full melt.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor, so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at Canalock.com. Visit Canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Dorr Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
People believe lots of things. A recent study showed that 1 in 5 thought the sun revolved around the earth. 50% believe they can sense someone staring at the back of their head. Some fake beliefs can make you laugh, but others are dangerous. Like the misconception, recently dispelled by the American Medical Association, that marijuana has no medicinal value, which caused police departments over the past century to arrest millions. So, will cops change their minds now that medical marijuana is legalized? Just because you confront a misconception with facts, don't think that people will automatically see the light. When the issue is our perceived safety, facts and logic often do not apply. It goes beyond the simple resistance to admitting you are wrong. It has to do with how ideas take root in our brains. When we first hear something, it gets processed in an area deep in our brain called the hippocampus. But as we think about it and remember it, it gets more deeply written into our cerebral cortex. Rewriting those deep beliefs is especially hard. When false beliefs face new information, it turns out the truth doesn't always set people free.
You know, it's not easy out there, but it can be easier. And when it comes to medical marijuana in Michigan and chronic pain management, Dr. Bob Townsend, renowned for his patient advocacy and deep understanding of how patients and medical marijuana certifications fit together, makes it his hallmark to educate and provide the best holistic treatment for your condition. His knowledgeable staff makes you feel warm and welcome, and Dr. Bob makes you feel well. With locations across the state in Cadillac and Gaylord, Kalamazoo, Marquette, Mount Pleasant, Muskegon, Saginaw, Traverse City, you can't beat the convenience and feeling you get knowing you have someone on your side that cares. Denali Healthcare is on the web at denalihealthcaremi.com. Get answers to your holistic health questions or schedule an appointment now by calling 989-339-4464. Chronic pain management and holistic health answers is what they do. It's all they do. DenaliHealthcareMI.com. Get your certification and peace of mind now by making an appointment with Dr. Bob Townsend at 989-339-4464. It's the Full Melt Radio Show. You know, you can find us here every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m., usually from 7 until 8. Occasionally, we'll go a couple hours. when there's a warrant for it. We've been growing the program, growing it in leaps and bounds, both by listenership and also by spreading the word through other channels. Right now you can find us on Spreaker and, of course, at thefullmelt.com. However, let me just tell you this. Working diligently on all the technical aspects necessary to get us listed on iTunes so that you could go right to iTunes and subscribe to our podcast because this program, after it goes off the air live in moments, will become a podcast. And then you could download it and just set your device or set your iTunes account to download it for you automatically, and you can listen to it at your leisure in case you don't have a chance to listen while we're live. We love you when you call in live, though. I mean, that's what we go through tremendous efforts to do this live program. I could do a program like this taped all day long, make it sound 10 times better. But I don't do that. I think it's important for you to have the opportunity to call up and interject your opinion, ask questions about this subject, because look, it's an open phone line. I don't have a lot of times. I don't have a call screener, and I wouldn't tell the call screener not to put you on unless you weren't germane to the conversation. Like if you just wanted to go on about something else, or you just wanted to go on, doing some shameless plug or something. I don't mind doing the shameless plugs, but when we're in a conversation about something, I wouldn't rule you out. If you've got an opinion, if you got a question for our guests, that's what these phone lines are here for, and that's why we do this program live. We also have the opportunity to tie it to news, relative information, what's going on now. And so not only will we be listed on iTunes, but I'm going to try and get us listed through iHeartRadio. So I'm making efforts to do that. Also wanted to let you know some upcoming live broadcasts. So look forward to these events. I believe we've got all things nailed down to go out to, if I'm not mistaken, July. To, is it August? I think it's. I'm not sure on the exact date, but there's an event out at the Navy Pier in Chicago, and our good friends at My Compassion, it's a nonprofit organization, are helping us to get out there and do a live broadcast from that location. I think it'll be fascinating to be there on the Navy Pier in Chicago, talking to you from that event, and we'll have guests, and we'll have you can call in on the same 800 number. It'll be a regular program, but it'll be from this live location. And hopefully we'll be able to give you a flavor of what's happening out there, because these kinds of events are happening all across the country. In August, I believe, here at the Speedway in Clio is the Cannabis Cup, the Medical Cannabis Cup in Michigan. And I'll probably try and do a program from that location. Haven't got that quite nailed down yet, but we're shooting to be there. Also, a possibility that Denver, coming up in just a few short weeks, Cannabis Cup, the regular Cannabis Cup, the regular, retail Cannabis Cup, just like they have in Amsterdam, is in Denver. And so hopefully we'll get out to Denver and be able to set that up and do a live broadcast from there. We did this a couple of years ago. Coming up immediately on Saturday, the traditional event that happens in Ann Arbor on the University Diag, right there between the campus buildings. The protest known as the Hash Bash started some years ago, over 40 years ago. And there's a whole history behind it, and there's, we'll tell that story at another time. It's an old story, but in case you haven't heard it, we'll probably repeat it when we do our live broadcast from out there. This is in addition to our Monday through Friday broadcasts, because the Hash Bash is April 4th. That's this Saturday. So normally when we go out there, we do a 1-hour show from that location and we're done. I'm going to do a 2-hour live broadcast just like we did today from here, from the studio. Out there on location at the Monroe Street Fair. We'll be at the corner of Tappan and Monroe for you people locally who are going to come out and visit us. There is a dispensary there known as the Green Planet, and we love those people for making space available to us out there every year. I know it's highly coveted space. The street fair is not going to get any bigger. It's finite in size. It seems like it's just never going to grow because for certain whatever reasons. And so everybody asks for space out there. They always give us some nice space. There's a lot of people turned away, and they always make room for us out there. So God love our friends out there at the Green Planet at Tappan and Monroe in Ann Arbor for helping us get out there. Charlie Strackbine puts on a fine event out there at the Hash Bash every year. Called the Monroe Street Fair. It's where everybody comes across after the protest on the Diag, because that's right there. It's a courtyard in between some university buildings on state property there. And so nobody does the consumption of cannabis or cannabis products in that location unless they want to subject themselves to arrest, because they'll arrest you under state crimes if you do that. And there are many who do. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it unless you're part of the crew that knows how to get away with doing that. I would highly recommend that you play at the safer end and wait until after the protest and go across the street to the Monroe Street Fair, where you won't be bothered by the police. The most that a cop over there will do is give you a ticket and let you walk on your merry way, where you'll probably walk down the sidewalk and light up another one. So it's openly consumed there at the Monroe Street Fair. It's one of the only places in the country besides, say, the Cannabis Cup in Denver and in places where they've legalized it, where this is openly done. And, they've drawn their own battle lines about it. It's a fascinating place. The thing that we haven't done before is go across to the Diag, because it's kind of a technical hurdle to get over there, and still do a broadcast from the street fair. But I'd like to stream, and we're making attempts. And Mike, the guy who runs the Monroe, the Green Planet dispensary there, has asked us to make attempts to live stream the actual protest event, because out there this year will be the one and only Tommy Chong, amongst other renowned guests. We'll have local Lansing mayor out here, the mayor of the capital city of Michigan will be out here talking about cannabis prohibition. He's in the win pile. There are a lot of people that are politicians in the state that are in the lose pile. More of them right now in the lose pile than in the win pile, but we're starting to slowly move them across in Michigan. So we'll be out there, hopefully, and I hate to jinx it because I've done this before, but it looks like we've got some agreements from Tommy Chong to come on the program and help promote his signing ceremony. He's going to sign some T-shirts. There's going to be some limited. Adam Brook posted some stuff on Facebook today. Adam helps organize for Michigan Normal the entire event, which is always sponsored by them. It's the central hub of their fundraising activity for the year, the day before, the day after, the day during. A lot of activity, a lot of stuff happening in Ann Arbor on that weekend, before and after this actual event. The event ends promptly at 6:00, and many times it's subject to bad weather. It looks like the thermometer says, at least the forecast says, the thermometer will be around the 50-degree mark, and sunny, dry. So you can't ask for too much better than that. A couple years ago, it was about 65 degrees out there, it seemed, or at least 60. Warm and sunny and friendly. You couldn't have asked for a better day. And, man, this is the first event in Michigan where people can get out and do something after having this long winter freeze over. And they always have a great time out there. So we'll be out there broadcasting live for 2 hours at the Hash Bash. Tommy Chong coming on, I'm hoping for Wednesday or Thursday. I know his book signing, or not book signing, but I know his signing ceremony at BDT's in Hazel Park. Is it in Hazel Park, the one that they're doing? I'm not sure which location he's going to. I think it's Hazel Park. I have to look into detail on that. But he'll certainly come on the program and promote that if we can, finalize the details on that. We've made all the contacts. It looks like everybody's in agreement. We're just waiting for an official word back on day and time. But I think we got Tommy to come on the program and talk about his signing and where you can go visit him and how you can see him at the Hash Bash. He's certainly going to be a speaker out there at the Diag. And hopefully we'll definitely have, if we can arrange that streaming thing, a way to carry that audio for you immediately preceding our program, which I'm going to say is probably going to be between 2 and 4 on Saturday. Because the program itself over on the Diag is generally a little longer than an hour. It'll probably take us some time to reconfigure and get back over to the booth site where our regular pseudo studio is, which is really connected back to this one. Thanks for joining us on the program today. Another fine news day. On the Full Melt program comes your way tomorrow. Join us then. Thanks for coming.
The Full Melt Show is a production of the Multimedia Digital Network.